What am I talking about? Security. Security. I promise to hopefully leave you with some valuable insights that simplifies security for you going forward. So I've spoken to a lot of SMBs, a lot of mid-sized businesses over many years, and these four key themes always seem to float to the top. So budgets are always an issue. The availability of expertise that are accessible to SMBs are always an issue as well. And the agile nature of SMBs, the flexibility, the way that you guys operate has to be agile, has to be flexible and adapt to the environment that you're operating in. But often that means security and compliance doesn't keep up with that agility, and it's something else to contend with as well. And the other thing that's out of everybody's control is the threat landscape. That is forever evolving, forever changing, and it takes a lot of effort to try and keep up with that. Even people in security struggle to keep up with the pace of change in threats and vulnerabilities. So what I'm going to try and do today is to leave you with a simpler way to look at security, more prioritized, more focused towards your own businesses, and so you're not faced with an overwhelming task of how you try and solve or even start to solve cybersecurity for your businesses. The main aim is obviously for cybersecurity isn't the end thing you're aiming for. It's business resilience to cyber attacks or threats that are out there. So resilience is the thing that you're aiming for. And if you were doing cyber thoroughly, this is what it would probably look like. The first thing you're trying to do, the very aim or outcome is to protect business value and your business operations. That's it. That's what you're trying to protect. You do that in other areas. You do that by mitigating financial risk, credit risk, insurance risk. You do it in all the other areas, and it's very similar. You want to look at it for cyber risk as well, because the threat environment's out there. You can't do anything about it, but you have to react to it and mitigate the challenges that come from it. Now, the way that you go about it in security is that you evaluate your risks, you evaluate your security and compliance environment. Hopefully you can bring a match together from those two areas, find some commonality in how you're going to mitigate or meet those obligations. And when you've identified those, you then use policies, processes, technology, people, all the usual stuff to try and mitigate the issues that you found during your evaluation of risks and your compliance obligations. Now, those can come from the 6 areas that you can see listed on the bottom. Typically, they'll fall into governance, identifying the problem space, how you go about protecting it. Obviously, you need to identify what your problem space is, otherwise you don't know what you're protecting. And then you can't always rely on protections or preventions. So you've got to have backup plans in terms of, need to make sure that we detect the things that get past our defenses and then be able to respond to them quickly so that you're not, so you're minimizing the impact to your business. Again, it's all about resilience. Some things might get through, but it's how quickly you catch it and close it down, which means there's going to be less effect on the business and you can continue to do what your business is good at doing. So that's a detection and response side. And then obviously sometimes some things go way further than that. And your ability to recover is also very important as well. In that recovering your data, recovering your operations, recovering IT systems, whatever it is that's important to the operations of your business, being able to recover that quickly is a very important final step as well. So that's the thorough way of doing security. Now, that can sometimes be quite overwhelming because these boxes might look simple, but the stuff that sits underneath them it can get quite complex. You can end up in a quite deep rabbit holes if you follow the frameworks and standards that are out there that are geared towards general businesses, but may not be geared towards SMBs. So what I found works quite well is looking at it from an exposure perspective, just exposures, like what parts of your technology and business are actually exposed to threats that are out there. And the way that I've been able to convey this in a much more simpler way to SMB businesses to look at these 8 attack surfaces. That's it. Don't forget everything else. Just look at these 8 areas. Work out which one is most exposed and focus your efforts on mitigating the risks from those attack surfaces. You don't have to address all 8. if they don't apply to you as a business. Even if they do, there'll be a way to prioritize which ones are more important than others. I'll walk through each one of these one by one just to show you what that surface looks like, what the particular threats are to that surface, and what you can do about them as well. The first one I'm going to start with is identities. This is by far the biggest attack surface for pretty much any business out there. Because once your identities are compromised, it's, they can get access to your systems. Now, you have to expose identities. You have to expose the thing that those identities log into. By design, you have to expose that, which is why it's your biggest attack surface. So wherever there's a web-based login or authentication prompts, even APIs, sometimes there might be trust that plays between different applications that you might have. All that requires identities. All that requires authentication, authorization. And in each of those situations, you have to create an exposure. That's why it's such a big attack surface. Some of the threats that are most prevalent today when it comes to identities is stealing sessions. So you'll see that off the back of a phishing attack, where it'll take a user to a website, make it look like something, make it look like a system that you're already using today, capture the underlying session for that authentication, and then use that session to gain access to your systems. The other main attacks used today are credential stuffing. So this is where there's a ton of credentials already available in various markets and forums, and they're just replaying those credentials as they are into your systems and hope that they hit it lucky with one of them, and typically they do with one or two. And the other one is password spraying. So similar concept. There's massive lists of billions of compromised passwords that people have actually set. It's not the stuff that you make up from a dictionary yourself. These are actual passwords that belong to actual people. And they're using those passwords against known identities in your organization. So that's another way that is used heavily today to gain access to your systems as well. So what can you do about, on that one, you guys hear about the Oracle breach recently, but alleged Oracle breach. So apparently Oracle Cloud have had a compromise, and 6 million identities and hashes were stolen in the last week from their platform. Oracle are denying that so far, but all the evidence points that this actually happened and those identities are out there. Now, they've got a bit of time because the passwords are not clear. They're hashed, which means somebody has to break those hashes to be able to get the password. But given a bit of time, they will have those. But there's a whole fresh new batch of 6 million identities and 6 million user set passwords that could be used in attacks like this as well. So, and it's happening all the time. It's not just Oracle, it's happening all of the time across lots of different systems. So it's just being aware that this happens and then having as many mitigations as you can to prevent it happening in your organization. But then also having the ability to monitor when it gets past those protections and being able to respond to it quickly as well. So some of the things that you can look at, I think most of you are on Microsoft 365, if I'm not wrong. So you'll be using Entra ID as your technology. And as part of that, they give you great features to leverage. But it is, on you as a business to leverage those features. You can't just turn on Entra ID and expect it will have all of these things turned on for you. There's a bit of work needed to actually get this to the right state that works well for your business. Some of the key areas that flow to the top, strong authentication. That's not just saying have stronger authentication. That's actually a feature in Entra ID that allows you to set at a very granular level how you want different people in your organization to authenticate to your systems. And it can be as strong as having FIDO hardware keys for maybe your administrators or people who have access to very sensitive information, right down to basic SMS-based MFA for the people that might not have sensitive access to your systems as well. So you can create a balance between productivity and security by applying the stronger authentication methods available to you in Entra ID. Conditional access is leveraging a whole bunch of stuff in terms of deciding at that point in time whether you want that user to come into your systems or not. And if there's something not quite right, you can decide to put something else in their way to prove to you who they are before you give them access as well. So conditional access can do a lot of clever stuff around how the user is trying to gain access to the system, what they're asking for, where they're coming from, and use that as a method to decide whether to let them into the system in the first place. And roles-based access control is basically, trying to simplify the way that you do access and permissions. It's around the authorization piece. It's trying to simplify creating roles in your organization and then putting people in those roles rather than giving access and permissions to those individuals directly. You give it to the role and apply the role to the individual. It's more likely that you're going to have a couple of people who have a similar role, and therefore if that role needs to change, you'll need to change it in one place. So it makes it a lot easier from an administrative perspective as well. But you've got the ability then to have better control of it if you do it in that centralized way. And obviously, with identity and access management, it's a living system, which means you've got to keep up with it. There's changes happening in your organization all the time, right? There's joiners, movers, leavers, people moving around. There's new systems coming into the mix. Systems might be being retired. All of those things cause change in the identity landscape. So having regular review and audit is something that is quite key to look at as well, just so that your identity management system doesn't go stale over time. And then, as I mentioned, just having the preventions in place is not enough. Monitoring the telemetry that's coming off your identity and access management system is quite important. Entra ID has great telemetry from a security perspective. It's a case of looking at it and doing something about it, having processes in place that allow you to do something about it. So you're not thinking about what to do, you just follow the process and do it. So those are the things that you can do yourselves. Obviously, at Vanya, we can help on that side of thing as well. So we got the professional services capability to help you better configure your Entra environments in the first place and get them to a good standard. But as I said, it's a living, breathing system, so you need to stay on top of it to keep it there. And we're just about to launch a new service called the Managed Identity Service, which is a set of proactive activities and steps to keep your IDAM evergreen, not just adapting to your changing environment, but the changes that are coming from Microsoft. So Entra ID is an evolving product in itself, which means that there are new features coming along, and that's all incorporated in terms of when it comes out. We review that with our customers and say, do you actually want this feature? We help them configure it, create a new baseline, and that keeps them more current and maintained. And then another thing that we're going to be launching very soon is creating a very specific threat detection and response capability just around the identity piece as well. So we've got a broad offering, which is our Managed Security Operations Center service, which looks at all data sources. But what we're finding with our smaller customers is that it's overkill or overwhelming initially to start with. So we're creating smaller variants of threat detection and response around attack surfaces, and we'll be launching one soon for this specifically to address that for our SMB customers. Next attack surface is endpoints. So these are all the bits of kit that your end users use: laptops, desktops, mobiles, so on, virtual desktops, remote desktops, Azure virtual devices, Windows 365, all that kind of stuff are your endpoints. And they are also an attack surface as well, primarily because they're more exposed than they were previously, right? They can be connected to anything, to any network, whether it's trusted or not, which means there's an exposure there to those devices. And it's an exposure that threats continually look to exploit. And it's not just the networks, right? It's the apps that you have on those devices as well. Those apps previously may have just connected to your internal enterprise apps, but today in the cloud world, you got SaaS applications. They need internet access. They're accessible. They can access the internet out, but the internet can also access in as well. You've got various protections in place that help you control that, but there are still ways to use the channels that are open between the outside and your endpoint that are continually exploited, which means it's another attack surface to keep your head around as well. So the key threats in this area are malware. Everybody, I'm sure, has heard of malware, and it comes in various guises. The most common one that you probably hear about these days is ransomware. It's still one of the biggest threats that is out there from a security perspective. Hasn't changed in the last 3 years. That one and business email compromise, they occupy the top two positions and have done for several years. The other thing that to be aware of is the lateral movement aspect. So when a endpoint is compromised, what a threat actor will typically do is look to move elsewhere, because they're not going to get all the value they want just from that one device. They will then look to see where else they can get to from that laptop. Laptops often have there's a bit of trust associated with them, and there's things that help the organization function that exist on the endpoint. So they'll be looking to use the tools that are built into the operating system. They'll be looking to use anything that's been cached on that endpoint as well to help them move laterally throughout your organization, whether that's to another application, another place on your network. Maybe it's going to reveal VPN credentials and they'll be able to VPN in somewhere. Maybe an admin has logged in for support and their credentials have been cached on that endpoint. They can capture their credentials from that perspective if you have caching enabled in that way. So each of these instances, that's what they're looking for, and they will be looking for these things to help them move laterally to get the value that they're looking for, whatever their motive or aim is, whether that's ransomware or any other motives that they might have. Another area is around lost or stolen laptops. Devices are typically considered mostly commodity devices, so nobody gives a crap about the actual hardware going missing, but they are a window into your enterprise, which means you do have to take certain precautions in terms of dealing with scenarios like that. The devices are getting smaller; they're more easier to lose these days. So it's something to bear in mind when you're looking at your endpoint strategy. So how can you mitigate or reduce the attack surface for endpoints? Deploying a consistent security baseline, like all of the operating systems that you get, whether that's Android, iOS, macOS, Windows, wherever it is, all come with security features. It's making sure you understand what that baseline is and apply it to all your devices and then keep it there. Sounds simple, right? It's not that simple, but getting to the baseline and getting it applied is key to keeping your device security evergreen. And again, that's an evolving situation as well. So as new features come in from the operating system vendors, you've then got to be able to deal with those new features and say, is it right for me? Do I need to configure it? What's the impact to the business? What's the benefit to security? And then make a decision based on that. Patching devices, oh my God, this is so old. It's been like a 30-year-old problem. And CSG, now called the National Cybersecurity Center, came up with the 3 Ps, patching ports and passwords, I think in about 1995. And patching is still a problem today. It's crazy, but it is still a problem today. I think it's more of a problem today because there's more apps to deal with, right, on any given device. And that's just blown up the scale of the problem. But keeping on top of patches is key, because that is something that is consistently used to gain access to an endpoint. They might have an identity that gives them a foot in the door on an endpoint, but how they expand that is by taking advantage of vulnerabilities. So they'll look for known vulnerabilities. This is stuff that's known. It's publicly out there that this thing is vulnerable. There's an exploit out there, and they will leverage that capability to then expand their influence on that device or further into your network as well. And then finally, monitor endpoints. Use the security software that you've got as part of your licensing that you've got. That might be a third-party product like Bitdefender. You might have Business Premium, which includes endpoint threat detection software built into it. It's only good if you actually use it, configure it, and monitor it. So in that regard, there's we can help with that as well. So like I mentioned, that we've got the managed detection response for identities coming along. We already have a managed detection response capability for devices as well. So looking at threats and responding to those on your devices specifically. So we can help with the monitor threat activity on that side of things. We can help you understand what a stolen laptop impact might be for you as well. So our penetration testing team, our red teaming capability can be used to say, well, okay, what happens when a laptop is stolen? What could happen to the business? And you just give them the physical bit of kit, and they will try and rip it to shreds and see what impact it could provide to your business. So we can help you assess the risk from that. And if it's a low risk, there's not much for you to do. But if there is a way in, then it's better you know about it and could do something about it rather than just being completely unaware of the situation.
Yes.
Another area that we can help on the patching side, because as mentioned, it's a continually growing problem, is vulnerability management. So we've got the ability to not only discover the vulnerabilities that are present across your estate, but we've got the ability to then help you get to a point of mitigation, to a point of remediation as well. Now, recently I was just looking into some of the performance of these services, and I noticed that we had customers that took just a vulnerability scanning service from us and customers that took a full vulnerability management service from us. And when we compared the remediation aspect, which is the important aspect, right? You're trying to close these things down. We found that we were reducing the attack surface from vulnerabilities over 50% when people were taking a vulnerability management service versus not taking the service. So it's something to consider in that if you just take the vulnerability scanning service, sure, you'll know about your vulnerabilities, but will you be any closer to actually fixing those things? And that's where vulnerability management comes into it. And then just on the evergreen and the security baseline, as I mentioned, it sounds easy, but it's not. And we've recognized that. And our modern workplace team have developed a service called the Managed Device Service, which simplifies all of that, looks after the device, looks after the security baseline, keeps it evergreen, and patches the apps on your that are included as part of that managed device as well. Our next area is platforms. So this is all of the collaboration software, email, Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive. If you've got cloud platforms, that will be things like Azure, Oracle Cloud, GCP, or whatever else is out there. The stuff that holds your servers and any platform as a service components, anything that facilitates an application or data being held in your organizations is what falls into platforms. And the key things to look out for there are resource abuse. What I mean by that is toe-jacking. Anybody heard of what that is? Well, it's a way where your particular threat group will try and compromise your platform so they can get access to your compute. And what they will do is they will quickly spin up very expensive resources to mine crypto. And they do that in a very short period of time, rack up a massive bill, but step away with a ton of crypto that they can then sell somewhere else. And that's crypto jacking, basically. And we've seen quite a few of these incidents happening over the last year. And it's quite profitable for the threat actors, which is why they keep doing it. And they're looking for opportunities like that. So it's something worth being aware of. One, to try and mitigate that even happening in the first place, but also two, to monitor if something like that happens. If you see a spike in resource usage, you need to react to it quickly, because these guys can be in and gone in 24 hours with their haul, and you won't know about it. And if you're only checking once a week, once a month, you're going to completely miss it. So it's worth being aware of that. Data theft, obviously, if they've got access to your platform, they will no doubt have access to the containers that hold your data, whatever that is, a database, file store, file share, whatever it is. Just being aware that that data exists there, and by gaining access to a platform, you need to monitor that surface to make sure that doesn't happen. The other one is denial of service. This was just pain in the backside, really, where they know something is important to the business and they take it down. Or it might just be that they're targeting the overall platform, which affects you as a business because you're on that platform. So it's just something to be aware of in considering the risk and the exposure from that. What would it mean if the platform went down to your business, and having contingency plans in place to deal with that. And Advonia can obviously help in that regard. We've got professional services that can help you adapt your architecture to be more resilient to those types of threats. And we've also got services that can help optimize that situation and manage that on an ongoing basis for you as well, whether that's in the Azure space, whether that's looking at the FinOps side of things or looking at the commercial aspects, looking for spikes, usage, all that kind of stuff. And then general network monitoring as well, looking at the overall utilization. And then we obviously have our CSOC service that I mentioned before that can deal with the threat detection response aspects as well. People attack surface. This one is a big one, and it's big not just because people are uninformed and unaware. Do you guys know what have I been pawned is? Anybody come across that? So that platform is owned by a chap called Troy Hunt. He's a cybersecurity professional, globally renowned expertise. in cybersecurity. About 2 days ago, he got phished. And 16,000 contacts from his MailChimp platform were compromised, which was surprising enough, but it was done in 2 minutes. He realized he was tired, he logged in, he got an email saying, oh, this campaign's not going to go out. He's like, oh, logged in. And the login page, it all looks normal. He logged in, and all of a sudden he was presented with a blank page. And then he woke up and went, that's not normal. He immediately realized there was a problem there. And he tried to go back in to fix it. But as he was going out and getting into his real MailChimp account, he got an email saying, all your contacts have been exported now. A nice, helpful message from MailChimp. So it's not just a problem of people who are not security focused. It can be a problem for any type of individual. And depending on the scenario and state of that individual, this is where, issues can potentially occur. So a typical type of threats, as I mentioned, social engineering, phishing are really, really big. Social engineering, that was a pretty clever video by Dan earlier. It was quite amazing, right? But who also thought that was also freaking scary as well? Yeah, it's nuts. And deep fakes is something to be concerned about going forwards. I've already seen examples where only a couple of seconds of video and a couple of seconds of audio can be used to create realistic deep fakes. And they can use these deep fakes not just as passive videos, but in real-time conversations with people as well. So think of your financial director, calling somebody in the finance team who has control of the bank account, using deepfake technology and say, I need this money transferred to this account now. It's not a phishing message or email. It's in real time. They're interacting with that person, looks like that person, sounds like that person. Do you think they're going to follow that? They probably are, aren't they? I probably would. And it's a case of right now, there actually isn't any major technology that can spot deep fakes. Or if there is, it's so new, it is ridiculously expensive because it's still very much in the research and development side of things. But eventually that will come through. But there are ways of spotting deep fakes as well. Like if you looked at the video, there are, sometimes there are little telltale signs that something is not quite right. And it's just having that awareness to say, well, talking to this person, is there anything unusual about this video call? Is there anything unusual about the way that they're speaking or the way that their voice sounds or what they're even asking me? It's just having that awareness. And awareness isn't a thing that you deliver once a year. It's got to be delivered quite frequently to stay near the top of mind. Not top of mind, and top of mind is going to be their day job, but near top of mind. So they're considering it when they're interacting and doing stuff with their day-to-day tasks that they have. And training and awareness obviously can help with that aspect. You've got to keep on top of it. You can't just keep reusing the same content, rerunning the same program, because people get bored. Like, oh, not this again. Got to do my compliance training. Let's click through this video as fast as possible. You've got to continually refresh that again. Theme, keep it evergreen. So there's always something new for a person to learn from that experience that they're coming into as well. And one area that we're looking to develop in that space is we recognize that the dial is not changing massively. We just training and awareness type services. Content gets stale. The delivery of it gets stale as well, right? So what we're looking into at the moment is something from behavioral science. It's called nudge technology, and rather than forcing people to go out of their day to a training platform, complete some training, this nudge technology is integrated into the day-to-day working of the person. So say they're creating an email, they put in a new email, a recipient that's quite new. This nudge could pop up and say, you've not emailed this person before. Make sure you want to email them. And similarly, if they attach something to an email, they can say, you don't normally send attachments to this person. Are you sure you want to send an attachment? Or if an email comes in and they're hovering over a link, a nudge will pop up saying, sure you want to click that kind of stuff. Or if they're in a browser experience and they're logging into something again, you've not logged into this before. Are you sure you want to log into this place? And then it could, all kinds of different scenarios can be accounted for. So if they're uploading something, there's an upload box that pops up in their web browser for any particular app. it could then prompt you to say, "Oh, are you sure you want to upload something to this website? Do you trust it? Is it expected part of your duties? All that kind of stuff, all customizable." But we're looking into that as a way to try and change the dial for user awareness, whilst not taking the person out of the flow of their work. The other area for people is insider risk. So this is quite a growing area, and the thing to look out for is the people who are accidentally or intentionally or being coerced into doing something bad in your environment. So that's where insider risk comes from, and having the ability to spot those trends, those sentiments early is quite key to be able to minimize the impact from insider risk as well. So in all of those areas, we've got the expertise to help set up those solutions in a Microsoft environment and get you going, so you're able to at least spot those things a lot earlier. Apps is another area. There's tons of apps. Everybody uses apps. Some of those apps are approved apps that you're aware of. Some of those apps you don't know what they are. That's what's known as shadow IT as it stands today. And knowing or not knowing that these apps are being used, because users will try and use the thing that's easiest for them to get their job done at any given moment in time. Sometimes that means using the apps that you've given them access to. Sometimes that means they're going to use something else completely differently because, I don't know, IT have said no to some tool or that they want to use that makes their job easier. They'll find a way to get around that. And the things with the problems you got with that situation is that you don't know where your data is going. Once your data has left and gone to this application that's outside of your control, you've lost control basically. So it's being able to spot those situations and prevent it from happening in the first place. And there are technologies in the Microsoft stack that can help you do that. One of the key things that has changed very recently, if you're on Business Premium or E3, Microsoft have just made E5 security as an add-on available to those license levels. They never used to allow you to do that. You had to get single point products to attach onto your licenses before. You can now buy this as a bundle, and it's significantly cheaper to buy all of the E5 advanced security capabilities in a bundle price and apply it to your Business Premium license. So you get all of the advanced capabilities, including being able to properly monitor app usage, whether it's approved or not. So some of the things that we can help with apps, we can obviously carry out security assessments. We can use our penetration testing team to assess the vulnerabilities that are exposed in that application. We can review the access and permissions being applied through identity for those applications as well. And then obviously we can monitor those applications as well. So all applications will produce some kind of telemetry or logs or security logs that we can bring into our managed SOC service to then look for patterns and then being able to respond to those as well. Data. I think it goes without saying that everybody knows what data is. It's not directly exposed, usually, although I've come across organizations that will literally put a database on the internet. Crazy, but it does happen. But it is a massive attack surface. Is usually the thing that threat actors are typically after as well. So it's just something if they find very easy to get to, they will do it, and they're constantly scanning the internet to identify these opportunities anyway. So if you've got something exposed that way, then expect some traffic from various threat actors that are out there. But some of the threats or impacts that can result from the data attack surface is obviously data loss or theft, which is obvious. Denial of access, which again could impact your business in its operations, in its ability to deliver its products and services. So something to be aware of. And then the other one, Dan also touched on it in his, is accidental sharing. So with the movement of AI as it is today, obviously it needs data to feed it so that you can actually do something with it. And the issues that you can have is that stuff that was sitting inside applications that had permissions applied to it that users normally couldn't get to, once exposed to AI, it could potentially open that information to anybody that can use that AI interface. So it's something to be very aware of in terms of how you're sharing this information, even with the newer technology that you've got as well. And the way you can understand that is it's pretty simple. 4-step process from Microsoft. Just know your data, very simple. Just know what it is, know where it exists, know how much of it that you have, and then work out how you're going to protect that data. Is that through access and permissions? Is that through using data loss prevention capability, which you have already in, even in Business Premium, you already have that capability that you could deploy. But all you need to know is your data, where it exists, so you can actually create a pattern and apply that prevention policy. And then finally, govern your data, because again, it's a living, breathing thing. It's going to move, it's going to shift, it's going to change shape. So keeping on top of that and making sure that everything else around it, your policies, your data governance, your access can all keep up with it is quite important as well. And again, we've got a stack of services that can help you get to that point, focused on SMB businesses. So leveraging the capabilities, the technology that you've already got in the license that you have today, and leveraging that, getting more value from it, whilst also protecting yourself as well. Supply chain is another attack surface. This one's getting bigger and bigger each year. What we're seeing is rather than targeting the business that they're after, they will target a supplier and then exploit the trust that exists between the supplier and the customer. So Advania is a supplier to you guys. So we're part of that attack surface for all of you. So what have you done to evaluate us from a security perspective? Somebody's going to kill me for saying that, but you should understand your exposure from all of your suppliers. We're quite an important one, right? Because if we're providing support services to you guys, we're going to have pretty sensitive access to your systems and your data. You might be comfortable with that because you've done your assessments. If you haven't done your assessments, you should do your own assessments. Our GRC team will be happy to take your queries. But we're seeing a lot of that happening. You've probably seen it in the news, right? It used to happen in a very targeted way. If it's somebody that needed access, it was usually a nation-state actor, so that's another country trying to access a target country's information or operations. And the most recent one that comes to mind is the MOD one. So rather than attacking an MOD establishment or department, they attacked a supplier of that establishment. The supplier was a fence provider, but that's all they provided. I didn't have access to any confidential information inside the organization. They just put fences around buildings. But because there was a trust relationship between this fencing supplier and the MOD, they were then able to leverage that trust they had to gain access to the MOD, build trust and establish a foothold in that particular department and expand from there. So supply chain was the initial attack vector, and if there was better security around managing the supply chain, they wouldn't have even got that far. So it's very important, that attack surface, and we're seeing that a lot now. It's not even as targeted as that now. They're just looking for businesses that are out there that they know supply to loads of other businesses, and they will attack that, knowing that they've then got one place to attack, which will then give them access to maybe 50, 100, 200 businesses, which is the reason why they're quite motivated to look at options like that, which is the reason why supply chain could potentially be a big attack surface as well. So what you can do, obviously assess your suppliers. It's very simple. It doesn't have to be taxing. There are tools, templates already out there that can be immediately sent out to assess your supply chain. We can help you in that regard. We can provide those tool templates for you. We can even do the assessments for you as well. If you don't have the skills to do it or the capacity to do it, we can help provide that capability to you as well. But this stuff is out there. You can use it yourselves. And then it's not over then. It's not a one-time exercise. It's a bit like training awareness to revisit it, because their environment changes, the way that they operate, they'll grow, they'll add on new products and services, they'll hire new people, their environment's changed, which means you probably need to go back and reassess and do that again at some point that makes sense to you. That might not be every other week, might not be in 6 months, might be a 2-year event, but at least go back and evaluate on what the changes might be in that space. And then obviously working with your supplier in both of your best interests to mitigate any of the risks is obviously a real beneficial outcome of doing this assessment as well. Sometimes your supplier is just completely unaware. We won't be, honest. But sometimes some of your suppliers will be less aware of the problems they actually have, and being informed of this, they will improve their security, and as a result, you will have improved your supply chain security as well. And the final one is network. It's not the least important, but if you're very cloud focused, you probably have less of the access, less of the control over your networks because it's all provided as a service in your cloud platform. But some of you may still have on-premise environments, and you've probably still got networks in there, probably still got network kit that needs to be managed and maintained. And some of the key things are Wi-Fi in offices. If you got an office, you probably got Wi-Fi, right, for connectivity, and that's another attack surface in networks as well. So the key things that we're seeing there is exploitation of unpatched stuff, whether that's access points for Wi-Fi, network switches, routers, firewalls. It's constant stream. The flavor of the month, unfortunately, right now is FortiGate. Vulnerability after vulnerability after vulnerability coming out from FortiGates. Previously, it was another vendor, so SonicWall got a pretty big hammering. What happens is that once there is a smell of blood in a particular brand or model of product, they'll all pile in to try and find more problems with it, which is why you see a spate of vulnerabilities being found and published and exploited. And right now, or hopefully we're coming to the end of it, is FortiGate. And tomorrow it could be something else, Cisco, Palo Alto, whatever the case may be. But the key is that when these vendors release their patches or their security recommendations, is to take that on board as fast as you can and deploy it to your environment. Again, trying to reduce your overall attack surface. These types of devices also have security capabilities. So again, there's a bit of security configuration and a baseline that needs to be kept maintained over time. Again, keep it evergreen because they're evolving products as well. So you need to keep up with not only the changes coming from the vendor side, but also changes that are coming from the threat side, and just making sure your configuration keeps up pace with that. And then, similar to other attack surfaces, monitor and review that activity. It's one of the oldest technologies that are out there. It's quite mature when it comes to producing security telemetry. So use it. Put something basic in place if that meets your needs, or take one of our services that ingests all of that telemetry, makes sense of it, creates relevant alerts, and then deals with the problem for you as fast as possible. Brilliant. That was all 8 attack services that I wanted to cover with you. So I'm more than happy to take questions or not. It's 12 o'clock, which means it's lunchtime, isn't it? Yeah. That'll be a whole lot easier to digest. Well, but just two things to take away anyway is work out what is your exposure. Do you know what that is? And then how would you prioritize which exposure you're going to address first? But just 2 simple things to take away. Thank you very much.